What's up, folks? Welcome back to the Best Show Ever podcast, the podcast where I interview people about the best shows that they have ever seen in their lives. I'm your host, Cam Herdt, and this will be a recap episode, and a recap of the weekend that we just had here in San Francisco and Golden Gate Park for GD60. And man, it was a sick one. Listen, I know that I'm going to come on here and kind of like fluff a little bit, okay? I'm going to fluff these weekends because I had a great time at them. Got to see a lot of great friends and really enjoy myself at not only the Grateful Dead 60th anniversary in the park in Golden Gate Park, but also the Heart of Town shows afterwards each night and the Thursday night beforehand. Those shows were excellent too. I'm going to be doing a lot of fluffing, okay? But we will give you a full recap of the weekend. I just want to be clear. I enjoyed myself. Okay, before we get into this, to see Grateful Dead music in the park in Golden Gate Park in San Francisco with a bunch of Deadheads descending on the park is one of the peak experiences you can have in your life, I think. On the first day, we got down to the Haight-Ashbury, which was loaded with people. There's people on the sidewalk everywhere selling stuff. Vendors had pop-ups. All the food places were slammed. All of the bars were slammed with hippies, fucking Deadheads. It was awesome. And it was such a scene. And from there, we just decided we were going to, I live in the East Bay in Alameda. And so you kind of had to like get over into the city every single day. So the first day we took the ferry. Excellent experience if you've never done that. Going from the East Bay into the Bay, taking the ferry over there is sick. Going under the Bay Bridge, having that whole ride into the city, going to the Haight-Ashbury and taking in that whole vibe with everybody around was just so much fun. And ended up shooting that good baklava video that I put on my Instagram. If you haven't checked that out yet, go take a look at that. Of course, had to make some friggin' content on the Haight-Ashbury, but it was very fun to make a video with Roy and try to kind of get a little bit of that scene in the background, kind of like implant ourselves where it was all happening, because that was some of the best parts of this weekend was seeing what San Francisco had to offer and seeing everyone just wanting to be in this epicenter of headiness, in the epicenter of everything that's ever happened for the last 60 years, that, people just want to be in that spot. And so it was a great place to start our weekend. And, we just walked from the Haight-Ashbury all the way through the park, past the Conservatory of Flowers building. It's amazing. And all the way through the park, it's about an hour walk. It's not nothing to get to, the gates. And it was just incredible experience. The first day was a little cloudy, a little misty, not quite rainy, but little misty walking through the park. It was cold, and it got really cold that night. Everyone was bundled up for these shows because of the chilly winds that did blow in San Francisco. But just in doing that, and just in walking to the show from Haight-Ashbury, thinking about all the times that Deadheads had done this for this band. I mean, not this band, but the Grateful Dead in the 60s. And, it's really hard for it to not hit. It's really hard for you to not feel that energy and to not get swept up in it. I got to be honest, going in on Monday of this week, coming off of Fish. I'm a Fish fan first. That's how I got into all this stuff, was through my brother introducing me to Fish, and then fell in line afterwards. Just so we're clear, going into this recap. But it is so hard to not feel that and be swept up in it. And on Monday, I was like, hey, I just saw Fish, some of the best Fish I've ever seen. I can't care anything more about what's going to happen this weekend than I did at SPAC. And it's a completely separate experience. And it was such a separate type of a celebration of the greatest American music art project in the history of our country, the Grateful Dead. To have those people coming through the park, young and old, families, people who came out by themselves because they need to see this, big groups of friends, Um, you know, Shakedown packed with people, Hate packed with people. It was awesome. You're just immediately taken to that place, or you want to be taken to that place, and it starts clicking for you. And so to get into the park that day and see the setup on the polo grounds. I mean, the setup for what the actual shows were in the actual area of the polo fields. It's set up very similarly to what Outside Lands does, which is going to be next week in the same park, which is crazy. Big stage in the field. They've got vendors set up all around the outside. Back, if you could kind of go back into the woods area, they had participation row with all of the different foundations and organizations that you could go check out, and some more places to kind of chill in the shade. The first day we did not need it. It was cloudy and a little bit of rainy and cold. So, but just an awesome. It is set up in the same way that festival is set up, just because that is the ground that is where it happens. But it was just such a scene in there, just to see all these people, like I said, like we were just talking about, all these deadheads, kind of make the weekend. To be in the field with a bunch of deadheads singing and dancing to Dead songs makes the weekend. But they packed in so many special moments for us. And it starts off with Billy Strings. I mean, Billy Strings on this crowd. I mean, so many people in Billy stuff. You know that there are so many Billy heads there in the crowd that want to see what he is going to do on this day. And I just loved the set list that he put together and the show that he put on for this crowd. I'm sure you got to be nervous. You're stepping out in front of the church of the Grateful Dead, and you're going to be the first act of the weekend, setting the tone for what's going to happen. He says in the set, he's like, we are mighty nervous to be here, but couldn't be more happy and honored to do it. And his set list is excellent. I think starting off with Gild the Lily it's kind of his flower child song. You know what I mean? Fits perfectly with what they're trying to do. I love this tune, and so I felt like it fit perfectly. And then he just starts partying with everybody with Dust in the Baggie, and super fucking incredible. And to see him have songs in this that are hearkening into that Grateful Dead lore with Shady Grove and If Your Hair Is Too Long, the Grateful Dead line in there, and people got a pig in a pen, kind of a nod to Pigpen, and then also ending with Thunder. That all felt great. That it's not like you weren't thinking that he wasn't going to play Dead songs. You would have loved to see him and his band go after some Dead songs, but those were excellent nods. That was tastefully chosen by Billy and his crew to put that out. And he is just, he embodies such, that enigma energy of what I imagine it would have been to see Jerry Garcia. When you see Billy Strings, you want to watch everything that he does, and you're enamored by every, obviously how he plays, but he is such an energy beam, and he lights up a crowd. And it was really, really fun to be in that field and watch what he did to, obviously his fans were stoked for him to be there, but these old heads who maybe haven't seen him yet and were there to check out the new guy. It was excellent. Excellent to see him there. And Dead & Co. themselves come out with their own show that is sweet. To Feel Like a Stranger gets the party started for everybody, and Dancing in the Street and Tennessee Jet and Mississippi Half Step and Big River and Althea. Like it's such an awesome first set of Dead music. And to talk about how the band looks and feels, I think that it was disappointing to see some people online talking about how Bobby can't do this anymore, or should step away, or should step down, or things like that. Of course, if you're going to watch a minute-long clip on your phone of him struggling with some lyrics and sounding old, that you'll certainly have the take that he looks too old to be on stage, or shouldn't be out there anymore. But this is a guy who, the biggest part of seeing specifically Dead & Co., like throughout the whole entire time I've been seeing them since 2016, and it's about watching Mickey and Bill when he was in the band too, but specifically Bobby. For me, it's watching him give everything that he's got left to deliver this experience for Deadheads and to fulfill his mission of what he believes he's here to do, which is play music for people. This man has spent more time on stage than anyone in the history of entertainment. This is a legend in the likes of Willie Nelson and Bob Dylan, who, seeing them this year as well. And they also, maybe if you are listening back to the recording of their set, they sound old, but to be in their presence in the crowd is such a vastly, vastly different experience than listening to a recording on your phone. The will of these guys to continue going and deliver this experience. Bob is still delivering the Grateful Dead for people. Of course, it's Dead and Company now, and of course, the songs sometimes sound slower. And yes, John Mayer is on stage, and no, Jerry Garcia is not there. And yes, like it's a completely different era. But you are in a crowd singing along to Dead tunes with thousands of other Deadheads. That is a huge, huge experience to have in your life if this is music that you love. And to have Bob out there still singing those songs and making choices and having fun and, emoting on certain things and, throwing a finger up on certain lines and, all that kind of, that is an important experience to have. And it is, it was evident this whole weekend. And that's what I'm there for when I've seen Dead go this whole time. And of course, Bobby looks as old as he's ever been, because that's just how time works. But there's a moment in every show, a bunch of moments in every show where Bob just, made you laugh, made you cry, made you cheer, and made you love the Grateful Dead. And I'm just so honored to have seen him in this park this weekend. And you could tell he was given everything that he had this weekend. And that's true of Mickey as well. And we'll get to him rapping and all that stuff. I just, can't go into talking about what Grateful Dead did on stage without talking about Bob and who he is as a person and where he's at in his journey as an artist, and how amazing it is that we're still able to hear him on the mic, singing songs, having fun, and telling us that he'll be right back after a short break. It's just, it's important, very important. And so the second set starts off with Box of Rain. They bring out Grahame Lesh, and I'm like, man, they're cool for this. Man, this is like, I don't know, the first set was obviously fun to sing along to Dead tunes, but when they bring out Grahame, you're like, oh man, this is a special, special, special weekend. He's got Big Brown with them. They don't just bring him out for Box of Rain to sing it and shoo him off. He's jamming with them through that song, and then jamming on playing in the band as well. Which is, you're watching O'Teal and John Mayer and all these guys step back to let Grahame throw licks. That felt amazing to me. It's of course awesome to hear him sing his dad's song. However, I to let him play along and hear notes come out of that bass from Grahame, also another special, special thing. And so I love when they play Estimated Prophet. Eyes of the World is obviously a favorite of everyone. People are very excited to hear that song. Terrapin Station, fucking huge moment. We're like, it's the first night and they're just blistering through amazing tracks. And they're playing Terrapin, and we're not even close to done here. Drums in Space is phenomenal, even not in the Sphere. If you guys can remember what it's like to see a Drums in Space in a crowd, a normal one. No, it was amazing, super fucking cool. But then they invite Billy back on stage. They don't say anything right away. You just see a guy with an orange hat walk on stage with an electric, and you're like, oh shit, here we go. The crowd slowly kind of realizes he's even up there. And, people all, of course, had their guesses for what Billy, Sturgill, or Trey would be doing with the Dead over the weekend. And everyone that I talked to wanted to hear Billy do War Fret. He's done it before, obviously. He's played an incredible version of it a few times, specifically at the Ryman, I believe is the one I listen to all the time. And this was just fucking special, man. I mean, he is hearing him sing that song, incredible. You know that this song means a lot to him in his life. You just know that, and you can tell that this moment means a ton to him. You know, Billy is this guy who has sit in with, you know, Fish and Tool and Primus, and he's able to show his love for the Thing in all these different arenas, you know, and the Grateful Dead is a fucking big one. Him and Bob have played together, and they've, you know, he's been in that Grateful Dead sphere already, but you could tell this was a massive moment for him. And he just fucking delivered. If you have not heard the recording of this song, it is fantastic. It's one of the coolest things Dead and Co has ever done, as is most of the things that happened in this weekend. But he in this jam at some point, he's like trying to go like heavy metal with John Mayer. I think he was scaring John Mayer a little bit up there with how he was trying to take that Wharf Rat. But it was just incredibly special weekend. I got to be honest, I wish they left him out there for Not Fade Away. I have no idea why you can't leave him out there for Not Fade Away. It's not even, it's a fucking cover, dude. It's not even a Dead song. Let him throw licks with John for the rest of the night. All good though. The Not Fade Away is, you know, always a great experience in the crowd with Deadheads. We get this deeply heavy Knocking on Heaven's Door. You know, this is Jerry's birthday that we're talking about here, and the band does not really give too big of a nod to Jerry, or say anything about him on stage or anything like that. And this feels like you know, it's heavy to hear Bob sing the lyrics of this song. And I believe Jerry was on everyone's minds in this moment, but there isn't really an actual, you know, doesn't feel like they step out and really say something about Jer, which is neither here nor there, but it you know, a tasteful choice to end the show with this. It was a heavy way to walk away from a cool show. And at the end of Knocking on Heaven's Door, Bob kind of looks back and he's just kind of like this, gives like a little shoulder and like a, is that cool? All right, see you later. It was like adding like a do at the end of like the heaviest shit you've ever seen. But and that's night one. An incredible day, just an excellent day. It was a fucking zoo getting out of there. We did not drive down. Like I said, we took the ferry, and so to get an Uber just across the city to go to Pier 48, this is 5 miles away. It was $150. You know, like it was a zoo outside after the show. All of the like, hey, there's all these deadheads and Haight-Ashbury and in the park. It became a sobering reality when you were trying to get out of there at the end. Buses were packed like sardines with people, and but we got over to Pier 48 like an hour later and definitely missed some music. But these, well, you know, I'm not going to glaze over the Heart of Town shows. I think it was a super important part of the experience for us having a great time that weekend. But it was just excellent improv, and you're just kind of getting like bombarded by talented people after talented people after talented people. Grahame did such a cool job of getting all these people together, and everyone involved with that event. You know, it's like help hosted by the Giants. We've got you know, tons of people are involved in getting this together. Sam Grissman and his band are a huge part of getting this together. You know, Jess Slaughter and Molly and all these people, you know, that helped make that happen. Such a fucking cool thing. But Grahame, you know, really seemed to be that band leader of getting a superstar group of musicians together like his dad used to do. I really hope that is the future of you know, that event and this city. I moved to this city like the weekend before Phil, you know, passed, or maybe it was like his last show in the city, like the weekend I moved here, and didn't see it, and never got to do a Phil and Friends. And so I hope that Grahame is carrying that on and moving that forward, because it was excellent. And the improv was fucking awesome. And you could tell musicians were having fun up there in front of a big crowd. I mean, they had a big crowd every night. It was awesome. Shakedown in the back, excellent food vendors. I mean, this event was stellar. So everyone who put on the Heart of Town events, fantastic. We did them every single night. Wouldn't have missed it for the world, even though I was tired as a dog after every single one of these shows. Day 2, listen, I'm massively Sturgill pilled over here, okay? I've had one chance to see Sturgill in my life. It was last year in the exact same spot in the Polo Fields for Outside Lands. He was the last day. And it was so unbelievably sick. His band is so unbelievably talented and cool. And the presentation of what he does with his music out there, badass, majorly badass. I've never been a huge country fan. He makes you want to fucking listen to country. That is country music. And it, it's not like the Allman Brothers. It's not quite that. It's like this, off and running outlaw shit. And it was fantastic. He, throws some nods into the Grateful Dead as well in here. He does a really cool, a lighter shade of pale. And then he also does a little tease of China Cat and something. But this is a Sturgill set. He gives you, Sturgill Simpson and the boys, Johnny Blue Skies, letting it rip. And the crowd was so into it. I think going into it, there was most people I talked to were like, I can't wait to check out Sturgill Simpson. He doesn't have the following that Billy does in this community. At least it felt like in talking to people, and people were just getting down to that set, blown away by him. And so just made it extra impactful when he comes out with Dead & Co. For his night. Let me see what we got here. We got the second night. They open with the in the midnight hour. Super fucking cool. I hosted a midnight show in Chicago at IO Theater for 2.5 years with my buddy Trent. We came out every single night to In the Midnight Hour by Wilson Pickett. I've never heard the Dead or Dead & Co. or any Dead cover band play this song in that style. And for them to open the show with it was striking to me. It was a very cool thing. Obviously everything is about me at all moments, and every song choice and selection and tease is all about me and my life. And that's just how it goes. This is sarcasm for anyone not picking it up. But it was awesome. There was a weird cosmic touch on the shoulder for them to open with this song. It was excellent. Same thing with Dear Mr. Fantasy. That is the lyrics are hammer right on the nose of the life of the performer from the person who is complaining about it. That song has always been very heavy to me. That I've chosen a life of being a fucking goofball. And so those lyrics hit heavy, and to hear Bob sing them is the heaviest. And have him on stage because he has spent his entire life, like we talked about earlier, entertaining people and living this life. And we have known him all of his years. And so super fucking cool. I know we're talking about the covers. Obviously, Bertha and Jack Straw are songs that Dead & Co. does incredibly well. So the Jack Straw was fantastic. Passenger is a song I've never seen Dead & Co. play and was not expecting to. So super fucking cool moment. They also do Brown Eyed Women very well. This whole first set is excellent. And then completely unexpectedly, they bring out Sturgill for his sit-in at the end of the first set with A Morning Dew. And after what he did to the crowd with his set, the excitement was so palpable when they started Morning Dew, and people knew that he was going to sing it with the muscle chops that he's got as vocals. The excitement, people were so pumped, and it was a deeply, deeply cool moment. It was amazing to watch him and hear him sing that song again. Same thing as the Wharf Rat. If you have not heard the recording of this, it is fantastic. John Mayer in all of the sit-ins really does do a good job of stepping back and letting their guests take first solos and all that kind of stuff. But you can tell Sturgill wanted to back up and let the band play, and he would facilitate at where he could on guitar. He's a fantastic guitar player. He's excellent. And he definitely does, a great job of his leads on this song. But what he was there to do was sing that tune to that crowd, and to hear a guy with that kind of vocal sing that song to a crowd who knows how important Morning Dew and the lyrics of that song are. Extra cool moment. Super, super happy and grateful I was there for that. And the second set was unbelievable. We get a fantastic Uncle John's band with a fucking sick other one jam in there. Like the whole jam of this Uncle John's band is just weird and awesome. You can say what you want about the songs from Dead & Co. You can talk about how slow their music is or whatever. They find pockets. And Jeff and, O'Teal and, Jay, Mickey, and even John Mayer, incredibly talented individual. These guys are able to find sick pockets and play with each other. They've been an excellent band for 10 years together. So that's super evident in their jamming. And this Uncle John's band is excellent example of that. My buddy Caleb Doyle always says that you can check the temperature of how well this band is playing by how well they do a Help Slip Franks. This Help Slip Franks is fantastic. It's awesome. They go into a St. Stephen's that they also tease the 11 in. And the other one and the 11 are kind of a little bit of part of this whole, story here. They tease it again with the truckin' on the intro jam. If I didn't pee in this moment, I was gonna die, I think. And so I'm like, I guess I'm going to the bathroom during St. Stephen right now. I don't even know. So ends up being a great bathroom trip. I, go back and walk through the left exit spinner section. It was just a vibe every single night. It was so crazy to walk through that section to go to the bathroom, but it's a huge part of the experience. You better be ducking some spinners if you're going to a Dead show in Golden Gate Park. And got to see my buddy Toon in there, this spinner extraordinaire. And so it was a worthwhile bathroom trip that I ran into my buddy. But I'm like, this show has been so great, and I don't want to miss another moment. I guess this is when if I don't go right now, I'm going to explode. And so get back for the drums in space. Excellent drums in space they kind of do a little Shine on You Crazy Diamond thing within there. Huge Pink Floyd guy. My dad was not a Deadhead. He's a Pink Floyd guy. And so thank you for the nod, Dead & Co. because that was how I grew up, and it was excellent. Days Between obviously becomes a super heavy input into this set here. We are now past Jerry's birthday, and we are in the Days Between. And so, another nod to Jer there. It's not like in between sets for Dead & Company, they threw up a bunch of interviews with the members of the band. It would be like Phil Lesh on The Crowd, or Bob Weir on Golden Gate Park, or things like that. And they feature Jerry in those, specifically, the one interview that is excellent with him. I forget what year it's from. I believe it's like 77 or 76, and he's kind of talking through what the Grateful Dead does on stage and how he can't really talk about it. He can't really put his finger on it, but when he talks about it, he tries to, bring that to life. And that is a cool nod to Jerry, but I would have loved bigger honoring of the man that we're, that is the reason why we all come together. Trey talks about this in his speech. We will get to Sunday in a second here. But the end of this set is excellent. Cold Rain and Snow, Broke Down Palace is very appropriate for the end of a Dead show. Great night. I mean, this is a great night and a great day. Sturgill Simpson was fantastic. I know that I had some friends that were in the VIP that knew that before he went on stage with the Dead, and then after he went on stage with the Dead, he is in the VIP watching the show, like from the crowd. Like he just left at some point during the first set, and they're like, I don't know where he went. And then he is on stage doing Morning Dew. So extra cool of him. I just thought that, having Billy, Trey, and Sturgill there was just incredibly special. I mean, having these guys be a part of the celebration really made for some special moments. And Sturgill was excellent on Saturday. Couldn't say more about him. And then we get into Sunday, the day that I am the most excited for. I know I was talking shit on, the Monday before this week about how I, saw Fish and I'm good and everything. I was always going to this day. There was no way I was going to miss Trey in the park, with this band, and it was excellent. Trey band comes out. I did say when we're in the line, we're walking in. I'm like, I kind of hope he doesn't do any Fish songs. I kind of hope that he, plays Tab songs and maybe leaves Fish out of it or something like that. I was wrong, completely wrong. This is like almost a Fish show. It is like all Fish songs, and it was awesome. The crowd is loving it. They open with MoMA Dance. It's like the most Fish show thing you could possibly do. Mozambique, obviously this is a Trey band song. But then it's like, Sand. We get McGill and Alive Again, which is Alive Again is one of my favorite Tab songs. But, we get like Mind, and we get like, Love Is What We Are, Camel Walk, Wolfman's Brother, Everything's Right, Ghost. This is a Fish show. It was excellent. And, having Natalie Cressman and Jen Hartswick on stage, doing background vocals and horns for Fish songs that's as cool and as special a presentation as you can get. Very, very cool. During the show, Trey has a moment where he does the speech that I'm talking about that I wanted to hear everybody else do. That he wanted to honor Jerry Garcia during his set. And, it's crazy to think about that this guy, it's obviously this band, but the enigma of the band, the leader of this experience, Captain Trips, Jerry Garcia, is still bringing, tens of thousands of people out from all over the world to come hear his music where it happened originally in San Francisco. And so it locked in the enormity of what all of this is. And it was perfect for Sunday. I think that hearing it from Trey, especially for me, being a huge fan of Trey. I mean, there are people there who don't listen to Fish and they don't really listen to Trey. And to hear from this guy who gets that thrust upon him of being the next Jerry or the guy who followed Jerry or whatever, about how important Jerry Garcia is and how important this music is, it just locked in how big this all is, how much bigger this all is than just Jerry or the band or anybody. It was very cool. And he's like, I'm gonna do my best here, and I apologize if this isn't up to snuff. Even Trey is nervous to perform in front of Deadheads, in that church. And he does Mission in the Rain, and it was just the fucking coolest nod. It was the coolest choice out of him to play that tune, and does an excellent job singing it and bringing that emotion to it. You can tell in his speech and the way that he was even getting a little choked up talking that this is all incredibly important to him. He has the quote in his life that he is not Jerry Garcia. He didn't grow up. He's never going to be Jerry Garcia. He didn't grow up picking bluegrass with his buddies. He went to the mall and listened to Boston and Led Zeppelin. But Trey talks about how he went to his first Dead show in '81 in New Haven, Connecticut, and the world is different because he went to that show. The world is, especially this world of music that we're so hyper focused on in the jam world, is completely, in my world, is completely different because Jerry, was on stage and Trey went and saw him. And so he does his best to encapsulate that by talking about it a little bit and then singing Mission in the Rain. And it was an excellent, excellent honoring of the man that we are all there for. Super fucking cool moment, possibly the moment of the weekend for me and for a lot of folks. I would assume. In this final Dead and Company show, man, we are lucky to have seen this one. I am a guy who did not get to go see the 50th anniversary in Chicago. I was living in Milwaukee. I just got out of college. Did not have a group of friends that wanted to go to that with me, and I didn't have the gumption to tackle that scene myself, and so I did not leave Milwaukee that summer to go down to Chicago and see GD50. It is one of the great regrets of my life that I didn't see Trey with Phil and Billy and the whole band. Fuck, man. In Chicago at Soldier Field, I am a huge, massive Bear. I'm from Chicago. It's a big regret of my life, and so to this was a big day. I've been waiting for this one to see Trey on stage with Bob Weir. Is something that I wanted more than anything, and we got it. They let the good times roll to start off this set, and we get the China Rider, which is excellent. We have a family buddy, Uncle Tony, who calls me and Kyle China Cam, and he calls him Rider, and so send out a little "I love you" text to my brother during that China Rider. Super excellent. They love each other. Fantastic. This is the only day that I got to be at the events with my fiance. She worked 2 nurse shifts on Friday and Saturday to not go to the shows, and was not able to go to the shows, and then volunteered with Backline for mental health support in the participation row on Sunday. It's like, you know what? We get it. You're a good guy. Okay. Everyone thinks you're a solid individual, Jess. You don't have to volunteer as well as nurse during GD60 weekend, but she gets that experience. She gets to come back and see Tab with us and our crew, which was special for us as a couple. The night that we really started our relationship and started dating in earnest was October 7th, 2022 at the Trey Band show in Santa Barbara. That's the last time I saw Trey Band. And so I was like, I know that you're on your shift helping with folks' mental health and spreading the word about Backline, but I would really love for you to take your lunch during Trey Band. And she was able to come down and enjoy that with us. And then she was off of her shift for the biggest moment of the weekend. Before we got to the biggest moment of the weekend, there was, like I said, they love each other. An excellent Shakedown Street. Man, just that jam was so sick. They're saying that there was teases of Ghost in there. I couldn't have told you. I was dancing my heart out in that moment. But that is for me the jam of the weekend out of Dead and Co. The Shakedown Street jam. They could have played that for 3 hours and I would have been happy boy. Excellent. And with Deal, fantastic. And like I said, Jess gets off her shift. She comes down now for the biggest moment of the weekend. What we were all waiting for. I felt like everyone that you talked to about the Trey sit-in with Dead & Co., they were like, he's going to do Scarlet Fire. That was one of the biggest moments of GD50 with him on Scarlet Fire. And I think there was also like some sort of at the time, like some sort of an issue with that Trey didn't get to kind of take his full solo on Fire on the Mountain, that it got cut off in some way. And so they're like, he's going to get the redemption and fucking rip it here. That was the chat throughout the whole weekend. And it delivered in ways that I couldn't possibly understand. It actually feels a little wrong to be recapping the moment already, because even in watching it, I'm like, I can't even process this right now. Like, I can't even process how awesome this is. Trey is such a massive part of my life, one of my biggest heroes in my life. Bob is the legend of legends in my mind as far as entertaining a crowd goes. He's done it for so long and in the craziest circumstances, and to have those two guys on stage together and just watch that happen was, one of the coolest things I'll ever see. It's hard to say that I'll ever, if Dead and Co, when Dead and Co does more shows in the future here, for the final Mexico ever, or whatever the hell happens, it's hard to say that I'll ever have a moment that is better than this with this band. And so to have Trey on stage and Scarlet Fire was just excellent. One thing I find hilarious in the improvising world. I did a lot of long form improv in my comedy years. We always talk about eye contact being the most important thing. And Trey and John Mayer trade off an incredible solo, group guitar presentation of a Scarlet Fire. Like, you don't get often two guitar dead that is lead heavy in that way, like it's the Allman Brothers or something. But this was just so unbelievably sick to watch John step back and give the respect to Trey. There was clearly so much respect for him on stage, and obviously, that was reciprocated back. Trey loves playing with another talented guitarist. You can always tell, that he's got a massive crush on Derek Trucks or Billy Strings, or, these guys that he gets to have sit in with every once in a while. We've never seen John and Trey on stage together in this way, and it was sick to watch the admiration back and forth with each other. And I just find it funny that, you know, in John Mayer's style, his eyes are essentially closed the entire time, and he's, you know, grooving with his face motions and all the stuff that he always pulls off. And Trey is just beaming him, you know. Trey's not like really guitar face guy, you know. He doesn't make a face while he's making art, but he's just he's just beaming John Mayer the entire time with the eye contact. And we're seeing him, you know, make emotional moves with his face, and he is just doing this such justice. He is as locked in as you've ever seen Trey in these exchanges. It was so cool to see this master of improvisation who is at like wizard, you know, grandmaster status, be on stage sharing licks with, you know, John Mayer and have Bob right in between them. I mean, it's just a moment that I'll always remember, and I'm kind of still processing as I'm talking about it here. So pretty cool. We were saying all day, yeah, when Trey's playing Scarlet Fire with Dead and Co., it's going to be sick. We're all going to be like, this is sick. I got to be honest, when I was seeing it, I was like, this is sick. And then, you know, now that I've had a little bit of chance to process it, I got to say, you know, just for me, it was sick. And so, yeah, very, very fucking cool to see these guys on stage together. One of the jokes that we were doing all weekend, after like super heavy moments like Knocking on Heaven's Door, or the, you know, days between, we would calling for the bucket. You know, our friend Ryan was like, would yell out bucket, you know, like just calling for the bucket. So we finally get the bucket after Broken Arrow. Super fucking cool moment. They brought out Grahame Lesh for Broken Arrow. Get a Cumberland Blues, excellent, love that tune. Don't always get that out of Dead and Co. So it was cool to see that song. Getting one more Drums in Space for the weekend, and you know, a lot of talk in our group of what's going to come out of the last Drums in Space. Are they going to do Dark Star? Are they going to, you know, do China Doll here? Or, you know, they've already done a Morning Dew, so that's off the table, and give us the Standing on the Moon. Somewhere in San Francisco, and it just fit like a glove. Excellent moment. For me, this was one of the heaviest moments of watching Bob on stage the entire weekend. You know, you're so lucky to. I've said this in Fish recaps before too. We're so lucky that we still get to see that band play so well. You're so lucky to see Bob Weir on stage, giving you everything he's got, and you know. It's not his best vocal on this one, but it is emotional and powerful as hell. I was really feeling it during the Standing on the Moon. Then we get the sweetest ending you could possibly have. As much sugar as you can fucking handle. Sugary and a Sugar Magnolia. They didn't do the Sunshine Daydream. They just kept it sugar. It was just sugar time at the end of the show. They close out the weekend with Touch of Grey. That felt incredibly fitting. I don't know if anyone saw the video that has come out during the Sugary. Apparently, there was a guy surfing on top of the windmill. There's a windmill like way in the back of the lawn with a Steely on it, and some guy is just surfing in bliss during the Sugary in like the deadheadest, hippiest moment of the weekend, I think. This was just excellent. You know, there's so many grateful folks out there, not to use the word too lightly, that they were able to be there. The vibe in all of these shows was just, we're so lucky that we're here for this, and you know, people getting through the gates and hugging each other and like, we're here, man, we're doing it. And there's people from all over the country, all over the world, you know, getting a chance to meet the Dude In guys from Japan, you know, all the way over from Japan for this. Just amazing to see the impact of what this band has done to the entire world, to the world of music, the world of art, the world of being an independent person and going on a crazy adventure. This weekend was packed with, you know, just a little bit of danger, you know, a little bit of fun, a lot of bit of fun, you know. It's just, there's always, you know, my brother and I always say every time we saw Dead and Co., there's always a story. There's always it's different than going to see Fish. It's different than going to see any other band. Of course, like, you know, we're in this crunchy scene of jam bands and all that stuff, but what the Grateful Dead energy and Deadheads bring to an event, there's always you're gonna see some shit, and there's always a story, and we got a bevy of them in this one. I could do a 3 hour long episode of what this weekend was and all the crazy little moments that happened at in the park for GD60 and also over at Pier 48 for Heart of Town, that Grahame Lesh hosted. But just happy to be here. Lot of smiles, a lot of high fives, a lot of hugs all weekend, and it was incredible to be in the city of San Francisco with all these Deadheads. Excellent time, and so that is the recap for this week. I will be coming back again soon with a recap of the King Giz Festival in 2 weeks here. So stay tuned for that. But until next time, guys, have a great show.